8th standard English. Sir Isaac Newton, the ingenious scientist. Okay, previous class we have seen that Sir Isaac Newton, the ingenious scientist. We have to continue that prose section 1. He was observed to be unusually busy with his stools. Thus he was observing the stools. It was not long before his grandmother and all the neighborhood knew what Isaac had been about. The neighborhood's family members, grandmother, everything, they were listening, they were observing what he was doing. He had constructed a model of the windmill. He had constructed the model of the windmill he was doing. Though not so large, it's not large, I suppose, as one of the box traps which boys set to catch squirrels. Every part of the mill and its machinery was complete. Its little sails were neatly made of linen and whirled round very swiftly when the mill was placed in a draught of air. Even a puff of wind from Isaac's mouth or from a pair of bellows was sufficient to set the sails in motion. And what was most curious, the interest if a handful of grains of wheat were put into the little hopper, they would soon be converted into snow white flour. So he wanted to invent new machines, the windmill. So that's why first he observed, then he was doing. Okay, section 1 we have finished. Next we are going to learn about section 2. Isaac's playmates were enchanted, happiness, delight. Playmates were delight with his new windmill. After finding out the new windmill, just he felt delight. They thought nothing so pretty and so wonderful had ever been seen in the whole world. In the whole world have ever been seen in this like. But Isaac said, one of them, you have forgotten one thing that belongs to your mill. Isaac has said one of them, you have forgotten one thing that belongs to your mill. What is that? He asked Isaac. For he supposed that from the roof of the mill to its foundation he had forgotten nothing. Why? Where is the miller? Said his friend. That's true, I must look out for one. That's true, I must look out for one. Where is the miller? Said his friend. That's true, I must search for the one. The miller, said Isaac. And he set himself to consider how the deficiency should be supplied. He might easily have made the miniature small figure of a man. That is a miniature, which means small figure of a man, but then it would not have been able to move about and perform the duties of a miller. But perhaps some two legs, which means here human beings. Millers are quite as dishonest. That's dishonest, opposite of the honest, dishonest, and this small quadruped, which means 4 legs animals. That is a quadruped here mentioned. As Isaac grew older, it was found that he had far more important matters in his mind than the manufacture of toys. Like the little windmill. All day long, if left to himself, he was either absorbed in thought or engaged in some book of mathematics. So always he wanted to read the mathematics books, engaged with the mathematics books, or natural philosophy. At night, I think it probable he looked up with reverential curiosity to the stars and wondered whether they were worlds like our own, and how great was their distance from the earth, and what was the power that kept them in their courses. Perhaps even so early in life, Isaac Newton felt a presentiment that he should be able hereafter to answer all these questions. When Isaac was 14 years old, his mother's second husband being now dead. So here what they have said, no, so every questions, whatever they ask the question, he can say the answers, everything. Isaac Newton thought that like hereafter to answer all these questions. When Isaac was 14 years old, his mother's second husband being now dead. She wished her son leave school and assist her in managing the farm at Ulstrup for a year or two or three. He tried to turn his attention to farming, but his mind was so bent on becoming a scholar that his mother sent him back to school and afterwards to the University of Cambridge. After her mother's husband, second husband being dead, no, she told to Isaac, don't go to school. Her son leave school and assist her managing the farm. Just you have to look after the farm work, the Woolstrup, the place. For a year, 1 or 2 years, he was doing that work, Isaac. Therefore, he tried to turn his attention to farming. So continuously he was doing, but he didn't do that continuously in the farming work. But his mind was so bent on becoming a scholar. He wants to become a scholar, that his mother sent him back to school, and that afterwards mother again sent to school, and afterwards to the University of Cambridge. After he finished the higher secondary school, and then he went to University of Cambridge. He was the first that found out the nature of light. After that, he was the first that found out the nature of light. For before his day, nobody could tell what the sunshine was composed of until then. You remember, I suppose, the story of an apple's falling on his head. The story of an apple's falling on his head, which lead him to discover the force of gravitation. So he discovered the gravitation, and which keeps the heavenly bodies in their courses. When he had once got hold of this idea, he never permitted his mind to rest. He didn't take rest until he had searched out all the laws, and then he was learning all the laws by which the planets are guided through the sky. This he did as thoroughly as if he had gone up among the stars that tracked them in their orbits. As a boy, he had found out the mechanisms of a windmill. As a man, he explained to his fellow men the mechanism of the universe. When he was a boy, found out the mechanism of a windmill. As a man, he explained to his fellow men the mechanism of the universe, the world levels. So that's the comparison. So he discovered many things. While researching, he was accustomed, which means something familiar with, to spend night after night in a lofty tower gazing at the heavenly bodies through a telescope. His mind was lifted far above the things of the world. He may be said, indeed, to have spent the greater part of his life in world that thousands and millions of miles away, for where the thoughts and the heart are, there is our true existence. Newton lived to be a very old man, renowned thinker, and was made a member of parliament and received the honor of knighthood from the king. But he cared little for earthly fame and honors, and felt no pride in the vastness of his knowledge. All that he had learned only made him feel how little he knew in comparison to what remained to be known. So he has discovered many things. Okay, so if a man just truthful of the scientist, and there is a true existence for the thoughts and the heart, or there is our true so your sincerity works. If you have it, the truthfulness existence, it will be shown. Okay, thank you students. Next class we will continue that section 2. Thank you.